Today we are talking the family, how to make our family be together, how to work on the marriage. What can cause a conflict in a marriage? What can make a man and a woman decide to separate? What can cause an argument in a home? What is the source of conflict in marriages?
I tell people, if there is self in marriage, please don't get married.
Pre-marriage counseling is not a complete commitment that you will get married.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Amazons.
Welcome to the Amazons. Today we are talking the family, how to make our family be together, how to work on the marriage. What can cause a conflict in a marriage? What can make a man and a woman decide to separate? What can cause an argument in a home? What is the source of conflict in marriages? This is what we will be talking on Amazons today. Dolapo and Bimbo, it's good to see you again.
I look absolutely amazing, I know. And that's one of the ways to make sure that your marriage is intact.
Of course.
True.
Of course.
True.
I mean, you marry someone and they look a particular way. Maybe they're very put together and you're into, put together women. And then after the first child, next thing is, Next thing is, no. I mean, that for me, that's enough cause reason for divorce. Because a few people have what they call spec.
Yeah.
They like women that look a particular way. They like their figures. Maybe it's the front or the the behind.
And once you start falling apart, and that's a good ground for the conflict.
It is.
Well, I would say, well, aside from the look, the physical look, there's also financial issues that come up.
Stress, yes.
And there's also the issue of a woman not wanting to perform her duties.
What sort of duties would that be?
Like having sex. Yes.
The matrimonial duties.
Yes, that's a very, very key point in marriage. Let us be serious here.
Is it the most important?
It's extremely important.
I say for I've spoken to quite a number of men, and they will tell you that what they really want is a woman who is their friend and who can give them good sex. But sex is very important in marriage because first and foremost, a couple who is having regular sex, intimacy, they you tend to be close, they bond, but when there is a situation where obviously there's nothing like that, they tend to drift apart. They may not even have any problems.
Well, you see, that's the funniest thing, Dolako. You were saying some men were saying, but actually I hear a lot of women complain. I know someone who told me she's gone 3 years without her husband touching her.
That's due to conflict. That's what conflict does in a marriage.
That's what it does. It
pulls them apart.
3 years without.
And what has she been doing all those 3 years?
She lost weight. He was like, why are you losing so much weight? Put it right back on.
Was that the cause?
No, she was just thinking that, okay, 3 years without, is there something physically about me that is not appealing? Because us women, we personalize everything. It becomes about us. The guy says good morning, you say, hey, he said it funny. That means I'm not looking good today. Or maybe my mouth is smelling. Or maybe I didn't do this right. We always personalize stuff.
I don't
Most women do that. So when this happened 3 years without, she decided, okay, maybe something I am doing wrong. Maybe I'm not looking right. Maybe I'm not taking care of myself enough. And this is someone that's always very well put together. She's into makeup. She's always looking good.
But so she says I want to ask a question, really. If she's gone without the intimacy for 3 years, how about the man?
Well, that's a good question, isn't it? We need to ask
Well, let us be candid. I don't think it's possible for a man to go without intimacy for 3 years.
If a woman can go without it, why not?
We're not created in the same way, Aisha.
We are making excuses for the man.
Men and women are completely
We have the same needs,
We are created the same way.
We have the same needs.
We women, women, number one, because of our upbringing, because of our culture, because of the fact that we respect ourselves.
That's not creation.
No.
That's conditioning.
No, wait, Bimbo. No, it's all part of it. A woman can keep herself together for at least a year. at the most.
More than.
They can hold it. But I don't think there's any man out there that can do that for 1 year.
But if we're talking about creation, let's look at this. Men peak in their teens. Sexual peak is in your teens. As a teenager is when men peak. When do women peak? In their 40s.
In their late 40s, actually.
In
yeah.
their 40s.
Or early 40s.
So if we're talking about creation, who should be getting more?
It's a woman, really. I mean, if you're saying that they've been driven apart because of, you know, some issues that they couldn't resolve, and yet the man can satisfy himself, you know, whichever way, whatever way, and the woman is still keeping herself together. I want to know how it ended up. It's a good ground, really, for the woman to start looking for the other man.
Yes, very good grounds, I would say. But you see, sometimes the drifting apart starts because of something else. I think the key thing to keeping our home together is communication.
I agree with you, Bimbo. I agree with you.
If it's your best friend and she's your best friend, there's nothing that happens that you don't share with that person. You are at work, something crazy happens, you pick up your phone, babes, man, this happened to me today. And the same thing, if you have good, because love wanes. Let's be truthful. Love is not 100% all the time. It wanes and it comes back, depending on your responsibility. But what will carry you through those periods of waning is friendship.
But, you know, love does not hold two people together.
Oh, no, it does.
What does?
What I think holds two people together is trust. Because you can have love without trust.
But can you have love without trust?
You can have trust without love. Yes, you can.
Or is
Bimbo.
it that you can have love without trust?
You can love someone and not trust them. And believe me, it is a nightmare to be in a relationship where you love someone so much and you don't trust them.
But that's the beginning of the end.
That is possible, Bimbo.
Because the love will die. The lack of trust will kill the love.
No, Bimbo.
They really can't, except you now decide to stay
Bimbo,
there.
love is not something that you can control, actually. It's not something. If we could control the people that we fall in love with, I'm sure we'll be very careful when we decide to fall in love with them.
Yes.
But it's not something that you can control. But I strongly stand on the fact that it is better I would rather have someone I can trust and someone I can communicate with than being in love with someone that I don't trust, because it's a nightmare. Every time the person goes out, every time they tell you something, you keep checking. Do you know what you go through mentally, emotionally, and psychologically, and the damage it can do to you?
I'm agreeing with you, but what I'm saying is my love can't leave without trust.
Or your trust?
My love cannot leave without trust.
You are saying the same thing, don't you?
No, some
are you
people,
not?
what Dalakwa is explaining to me now is that trust is important. I agree with her totally, but she's also saying that some people can actually stay in that situation where there's no trust and continue the relationship.
But you know what? As women, I believe that as women, we go through different stages in our lives. There's a time between 18 and 22 where all you want to do is just party and have fun. Okay, after that, when you begin to approach the age of like maybe 26, heading towards early 30s, you begin to look for security. You want to settle down. Now, by the time you're getting to like your 40, you've had your children, you've been married. Love is not a priority anymore. It's about putting something aside, having fun, and making sure that you keep your home and you look after your children. There comes a time where women stop thinking about love.
That sounds sad.
And that can also be a good ground for conflict.
Yes. That sounds sad to me. I believe, which is probably why I'm not married, I believe that if I'm going to stay with one person for the rest of my life, it can't be because of the children, because we women tend to do that. We'll say, oh, you know what, whatever he's doing is none of my business. I've got my kids, I'm going to focus on that. I can't be that person.
We'll be calling for a break. When we come back, we have a couple who will tell us how they've been able to keep the sparkle in their marriage from when they've been married till now. I will also be asking them, can there really be love without security? After the break.
Sometimes what causes the other woman is that maybe the wife is very impatient or very jealous. You know, such things like that can send the man looking for comfort outside.
It almost broke the relationship with my girlfriend, but I think she was good enough to salvage it. So I think she saw some more things as a woman that made her calm down, and she was able to push the other woman away.
If it's a strange woman, first of all, I think the focus here is the man. What does the man want? Because no woman is going to come and knock on your door and try to put puts herself into the home if the man doesn't welcome her. So I think it's a problem that the man and the woman has to resolve. Why is he going out there? You need to ask him. You need to try and focus on the problem because something is taking him out.
Welcome back to Amazons. We are talking conflict in marriage. How do you keep your marriage together? What do you do to keep your man still keep being in love with you after so many years of marriage, or even within 1 year of marriage? What can the woman do to still remain who the husband married a few years before the conflict starts? Or what can the man also do to keep the woman happy in the marriage? We have a guest who is coming to discuss this with us on Amazon. He's actually a Keeping Marriage Alive. He's the founder of the Keeping Marriage Alive initiative. Please welcome. And he's come here with his wife, which means they must truly be in love. And I like to see them, when they come on, how they appear. Please welcome Dr. and Mrs. Okonkwo. Wow.
I'm jealous. You're welcome.
Thank you,
You're very welcome, sir. Thank you for being
Welcome
here.
to Amazons. Please have a seat. Welcome to Amazons.
Oh my goodness, I love the too much.
Yes.
You are they're basically wearing the same colors.
What God has joined together,
Let no man put asunder.
Dr. and Mrs. Okonkwo, welcome to Amazons.
It's a pleasure.
I can see so much love between the two of you. Holding hands,
Are you blushing?
supplying the stage, the color coordination,
Really?
sitting close together.
Really?
These are telltale signs that there is so much love in this family. How long have you been married?
9 years.
9 years, and you still do this together.
Wow.
That is, that's
Do
amazing.
you do this together?
Yes, we actually do. We didn't start that way, but we did.
You worked on it?
We worked on
Okay. You are founder of the Keeping Marriage Alive initiative. What is that all about?
Yes, a foundation organized to foster oneness in families. We notice in the society now, with the pressures around, a husband and a wife, they might lose focus, be distant to each other while living in the same house. So there's need to put up a foundation to bring this back, educate people, enlighten them, give them opportunity to make the most of their marriage.
So, say Dolapo and I are a couple.
A good couple.
And we've gone where the relationship is not as it used to be, and we come. Maybe I drag Dolapo to you. What would be the first thing you would say to us?
Can I?
Let us
Yes,
go.
go ahead.
Actually, we're both co-founders of Keeping Marriage Alive, and it's because we want to portray oneness. It's actually, it's a one thing. There is no two people in marriage, it's a one thing, And first thing we'll tell both of you, marriage is beautiful. I can tell you that. The issue is that many people don't want to go in there. They want, I call it a consumer mentality. They just want to receive. But in marriage, you give all you have and keep on giving. But the price isn't worth it. It's worth every bit of it. I'll do it again. Did I enjoy the work? No. Was the price beautiful? Yes. Yes.
What I'd like to ask you is the first thing I notice about both of you is the fact that, there is contact, body language, because you can see couples and they would tell you from their mouth that everything is fantastic and they would do all the right thing at the right time and everything. But when they sit together, when they communicate with each other, you can tell that gap is there.
Body
And aside
language.
from that, do you know the quickest way to know a woman who is happily in love and enjoying her marriage? There's this glow that she has.
It's common from, yes, when you're happy.
You can tell her eyes are sparkling, she's very happy, and she's constantly
blushing.
smiling. I'm blushing as well. But, my question is actually directed to you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, marriage is a beautiful thing. Okay, I believe that every woman would like to settle. But please, why do our men, why do they have problems committing? Why
Well-
don't men like to commit?
Yes, it's multifaceted, really. Some, they just want to play around. some don't even know the purpose. They don't understand what marriage is all about. They think it's just like any dating relationship, boyfriend and girlfriend. It takes much more. So some of them, they're afraid of that. Some don't even understand what it means, so you won't even blame them in that area, but they ought to educate themselves. So basically that, and some learn to have fun. I think it's all about fun. It's not all about fun. To get the fun in it, you have to work very hard.
So it's not because of the conflict. Because when you look around, I mean, when a little girl is growing up, a child that grows up in a home where the father and the mother were not happy, I think the child will automatically grow up thinking, you know what, I don't want to get married and this is not for me. And I'm thinking that, you know what, I mean, we say a lot of our men, African men, don't like to commit until they get to the point where they can't actually run away from it. And the reason I'm asking this because I'm trying to think, I'm trying to see whether it's due to this conflict in their, maybe in their parents' marriage that's causing this men not to want to go into it because they don't, as far as they're concerned, it's not, you know, something that they would want to deal with.
Yes, it plays a major role though, but we all see other things too. They will have seen other couples see happy people too. It's a choice, really.
No, but if you've lived it, let's talk about your formative years living in a home that's not happy. That's actually hostile.
Okay.
The first thing on your mind as you're growing up is like, I don't want to live like that.
Okay, let me come in a bit.
She came from a house,
Actually, you know, most of us came from homes like that. He came from a home that's okay, but no passion, no emotion.
They're just living
together because we just have to, because of the children and all. Mine came from a worse home. They fight every day.
Okay, could that be the reason why you want to make a success of it? Because you've witnessed the other side.
So I knew I didn't want this. So I was ready to raise the bar, to work for it, to pray for it, and stick to it. You know, it goes two ways. You can actually get in there and say, I don't want what my parents have, so let me not get married. Or you can decide, I think I can do better. Actually, divorce rate in our house is quite high. Almost everybody in my house is, you know. So when you see that, you have nobody to look up to. So you start asking the right questions.
So would you say that there's a proper age for marriage? Like, should you wait until you're 20? Should you wait? Because I figure for a lot of women, we don't know who we are in our teenage. We are still finding our path, trying to become the person that we're going to be, growing up and trying different things. So would you suggest that one of the reasons why marriages do scatter is because people that go into it are too young for the responsibility and the commitment of marriage?
I think so. I think the age should be from 22, 23. That's the youngest, I think, because marriage is a lot of selflessness. And at the age of 18, you're just thinking of yourself.
Very
you have nothing to give, really. Then to get in there to find you have to give someone who might even appreciate what you're giving.
But these days, the age at which couples get married, or which boys and girls get married, is not as it's at a later. The years are much later now than they were before. Earlier,
it depends on which part of Nigeria. In the north, it's still very young.
No, we are talking contemporary Nigeria. By the time you finish your education, you know, you've gone to university, perhaps you want to have a master's degree, and then you start looking for, you really want to have that security before, for both parties. So it really pushed the age to get married from 21, 22 to now, maybe later 20s.
That means we're talking about educated Nigeria, because uneducated Nigeria tend to marry early. So what exactly, is there a recipe really to avoid conflict in marriage? Can you avoid it? And if you cannot avoid it, how can you manage it? I would want you to answer that question when we come back from the break. Welcome back to Amazons. Today we are talking conflict in marriage, how to resolve it, how to avoid it, and how to keep the love in a marriage really strong. Before the break, I was asking, is there a recipe for keeping a couple together? If you cannot avoid conflict in marriage, how do you manage the conflict?
You actually cannot avoid conflict in marriage. That's the truth about it. If you look at the foundation of marriage, you're looking at two adults, two different backgrounds, two different academic qualifications, grown up under two different families. They have their own ideas. But when they come together and have studied what marriage is all about. You know, it's for a better goal. Two of you will have to harness yourselves to make it better. Decisions will not be just for you or just for her, but for the two of you and for the family. So there are certain recipes, though, different strategies you have to use to make that work.
So what's your own strategy? What has been your strategy for 9 years?
Okay, I think the way you see things in life, it's very important. When people go into marriage, you see, you said something, let me go back a bit. You said where we need to get educated, security, and all before you get married. The irony of it is it actually affects the marriage. It's a minus, not a plus in the marriage, because you've built yourself to be yourself. Then you get in and you have to let all those things go. You need to let them go. When we started, we looked at conflict as something that wasn't good. How could we avoid them? But as we grew, we understood that they were necessary. It depends on how you see it. We now see it when conflicts come, if I'm right, my husband, we look at it as something it's an opportunity to bond more. It means there are loopholes we have not worked on. It's just telling us, just like when you're ill and you're in pain, if you're not in pain, you won't even know you're not feeling well. So those conflicts actually tell you something is wrong in this area, work on it. The issue is we're running away from what will give us a better marriage. Okay. So yes.
So can I ask, sorry, how important is sex to a marriage?
Wow.
She's blushing again.
That's a big smile.
Oh God, Mimi.
No, but it's actually very important. Apart from the physical contact, it brings intimacy. It also has spiritual implications. You become one flesh. You know, it's practically impossible to become one flesh looking at it physically. But when you meet, you know, just as I said, Isaac knew Rebecca. You know, it's something.
One thing though, that most men will say is that, oh, you know, after a while I get bored.
Okay, let me comment there. You see, we get married, we start having children. You don't make our time. We have this, in their life in keeping marriage, we have something we call a life, always loving, intimately verifying every day. Communication is an issue. And then you have to, you see, it's like you go to work. You just don't dress anyhow and go to work because you want to go to work. So you make out time, you dress well. You know, your husband has his own particular taste. Then you make out time for sex. And when I mean you make out time, when we actually, maybe can I go a bit further?
Sure.
when we want to meet or something, I think I have to say this, the woman has to be a bit more creative.
Adventurous.
Yes.
Inviting.
You know,
He said inviting too.
No, seriously, you have to be a bit more creative, outspoken. You know, most of our women complain their husbands have mistresses. It's just that they want the woman that is a bit wild once in a while. Be yourself. You see, okay, let me give you a little example. You know, when you get married for a while, it's the same thing all the time. So, the same thing. Then I found out that the ladies out there, they have experience, they are learning more. And if one catches your husband.
You know what? I come from a background where growing up as a young girl, I was told that I should be a princess in the living room. I should be a cook in the kitchen.
Okay.
And I should be a prostitute in the bedroom.
Beautiful.
That's what I was told.
But very few were told that.
No, but a lot of us were not told that. We're not even allowed to discuss it. Seriously, we were not allowed to discuss it.
Oh, mommy, you know.
That's the
No, but
honest
you know,
truth.
it is important, honestly. I think it is important for young girls going into marriages now to actually understand. You know, you made a very, very vital fact when you said, you know what, we hear conflicts in marriage, we think negative. But you've just said, now, you know what, it's actually positive.
Yes, it
you know,
is.
because the more problems you face and you can also, jump the hurdle together, the closer he brings you and the stronger he makes you.
Actually, when you see that's when you see a couple in love, it's actually two servants. Forgiving servants. Forgiving servants.
You make it sound so easy,
It's not
inviting, and beautiful.
It's
But then,
beautiful.
yeah,
It's beautiful.
But, I mean, from the picture you've described now, communication is key. Working and you know,
Okay, let me give a little
is
bit of
also
communication.
important.
You see, temperament is something we always overlook in marriage. I'm a sanguine, he's a phlegmatic. And you know what it means? It means I want to talk all the time. and he just wants peace. So imagine living like that. But you see, because we've understood that it's not about ourselves in marriage, it's about the other person. So I try to give him peace, he tries to give me a listening ear. There is no self. I tell people, if there is self in marriage, please don't get married. There is no self in it. You will give, even when there is no thank you. But there is what we say, there's seed time and harvest time, and it comes. The issue is that we expect a thank you on time. When we got married, communication was an issue. And without good communication, lack of good sex.
Of course.
You know, no sex actually affects your sex. Because how do you even tell each other?
The things you like.
How do you even tell each other it's
Yes,
time?
we have 3.
So, how do you combine being a mother, being a father, and also create time for this, exciting things you're talking about? And,
Okay, we have do I go on or you?
Go ahead.
We have we believe in a minimum of 15 minutes a day. We have younger children, so it's quite difficult. But 12 midnight, can you imagine? That's the price. It's a little price to pay for having a home. So 12 midnight, when all the kids have gone to bed, we've prayed, we sit down and we talk. And when you communicate, touch. When you communicate, lie on each other, touch, play. It's your own. It's your body.
thank you so much, Dr. and Mrs. Okonkwo, for being part of
It was
us.
great.
Thank you.
We'll come back after the break. We are still talking conflict in marriage. After the break, we'll have another guest coming. Welcome back to Amazons. We are talking managing conflicts in marriage. Dr. and Mrs. Okonkwo, an epitome and a good example for managing conflicts in marriage. We have another guest joining us who is an author, an etiquette specialist, and also a marriage counselor. Welcome, Joanna Adeyileka.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Good to see you again. Welcome to Amazons. Please have a seat.
Thank you.
You've listened to us. We've heard from Dr. and Mrs. Okonkwo. Can you teach a couple that there's conflict ahead in this marriage? Can you teach a couple how to prepare and manage the conflict when they get together? Is it possible?
Well, you can give them some insight, but whether that advice really penetrates into the individuals is another thing. I do some pre-marriage classes which involves a whole array of subjects such as sex, such as finances, children, how to parent, how to deal with in-laws, which is a big issue in this country, and so many areas. So you say what you can, you give them some advice. Very rarely do they believe that those things will ever happen to them. But in time, shortly after marriage, you start to see that they're coming back to you to say, this is happening. How do I cope with this? But they tend to forget all the words that you spoke to them prior marriage.
That's the bloom of getting married. I'm so excited. I don't think reality sips in until after the marriage. And then especially a few months after the in-laws are like, okay, where are the children? Or when the children do come.
Exactly.
But I want to ask, is there, when you counsel couples, do you find a relationship and you look at it and you say, oh goodness, these people do not need to be together?
Yes, there was one couple that I counseled and I said, had they not already planned their wedding, I would have advised them to wait 1 more year to try and settle things out. But they went ahead and got married.
Are they still together?
They are, but with issues.
So, okay, they do have issues. Is there a step-by-step way of you know, working through these issues, especially if both of them want it?
Well, obviously, the issues that are in this particular case is where one party hasn't let go of their family. And it's very difficult for the other party to, you know, to settle with those situations, because obviously we all come from a family that we love dearly. But you know, they say you leave your mother and your father, you cleave.
That's the word, cleave.
You understand? Well, you know, a lot of people believe they can take on a wife, take on a husband, and still hang on to the family. But really, it's not the best way. It's not the best way.
The couple that were here, that was here earlier on, the lady mentioned the fact that, you know what, conflict is not something that you can avoid in marriage. And you've also said as well that, you know, in as much as you prepare this couple, they still don't understand what it is like until they're actually, you know, facing it. But what I'd like to ask you is, when is it a right time to walk out of marriage?
Well, the advice that I give couples personally is that when it gets to the situation where a person's life is in danger, for example, if there is physical abuse, that is the time to walk out of marriage if it cannot be settled through external help. But where there's continuous beating in a home, I would never advise a person to stay.
Okay, and then you have different situations. We know a lot of people are marriage shy. What if you're in a situation where you're dating someone who is afraid of commitments for whatever reasons and whatever issues that he's had in the past or she's had in the past? Is there any way to sort of, you know, get them to the point of commitment?
When they're not ready to commit.
When they're scared of commitment, for whatever reasons, maybe based on their growing up or what they've seen around them, and they're saying, you know what, this institution doesn't really work and it's not for me, and I'm too scared to go into it because this will happen to me. Is there anything that the other party can do to sort of, you know, and tell them that, you know, this will be different?
Okay. I think that's why in my own circumstances we do pre-marriage counseling. And pre-marriage counseling is not a complete commitment that you will get married. It is a class so that you can decide, is this really for me? When you go through the different aspects of marriage. If you want to try and encourage somebody to get married who in their heart they are not ready to get married, then, you know, there's a lot of time, a lot of patience that you need to work on to discuss, to find out what's the root of their problem. Is it a family background problem? Is it a personality problem? You need to get to the roots. You know, when you introduce yourself to somebody, you talk about what is above the roots. But if you really want to know somebody, you go below the roots. You go below the surface. And it's then you get to know, do they come from a happy home? You know, was it a broken home? Was it a home where they stayed just because of the children? Was there lack of finances? There's so many things that determine happiness or unhappiness in individuals, and that is now carried on into marriage.
Okay. Since we've discovered really that in the African setting in Nigeria, you know, especially that the family, the extended family, both for, you know, the girl and the boy, have some kind of influence or control, even after, you know, they find it difficult to let go, especially when the girl is the one that, you know, they are giving out. Do you also counsel the would-be couple and then counsel families that, you know, when they are together, this is now a new family. There's such a limited influence you can have on the family. The reason I'm asking this is I know of a woman who was running her daughter's home from her home to the point that the boy got tired soon after marriage, and it was the same mother who went to take the daughter's things from the boy's house. And today they are not back together. The boy has gone ahead to marry somebody else, and now they want reconciliation. So do you also give, you know, counseling to in-laws to let go?
Well, we don't, to be candid with you, and maybe that's an area that we should be looking at in this country. We speak more to the couples to be, And we do involve, you know, we talk about in-laws, we look at the possible, you know, what can I say, the problems that may arise with both couples. What is your mother like? What is your father like? What type of temperament do they have? What's their history? What's even to grandparents? We discuss that with them, but we don't actually bring in the parents to discuss that, you know, because this is a personal thing between the husband and wife to be.
Okay. Does our society have any influence in increasing conflict in marriage?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. I mean, I can look at my own personally, although thank God for the type of husband that I have. But for 5 years into marriage, I didn't have a child. Now, so many people approached my husband to say something, but because he's the man he is, he didn't accommodate it. So I was safe, you understand? So those type of things happen in marriage. It could be financial too, whereby, you know, some men, I was speaking to someone this morning who said that when she got married, her husband wanted her to stay at home. And she's somebody that likes to do business. She's a very sanguine type of person. And she refused. And, you know, the husband's family were now saying she's a disobedient wife.
Okay, we're still talking managing conflicts in marriage, and Joanna Adeyileka is our guest, an etiquette and specialist, a marriage counselor, and she's also an author. Habits sometimes can also be a source of conflict. Like you get married to this man, and suddenly you find out that his sexual habits are not what you're used to. For instance, he wants to watch pornography before he gets into the act. And you've been brought up, you know, almost, you know, non-like, this is a certain way you have to do this thing. And yet you have a man who wants you to be adventurous, who wants to try new things with you that you are not used to. How do you manage that kind of...
Well, I mean, they say when you're in marriage that there are no boundaries. They say that. But in actual fact, pornography is very damaging in marriage. Why? Because when you are looking at when a man is watching pornography and sleeping with his wife, he doesn't see his wife in his brain. I don't know, Robin Williams, the actor, said, God blessed a man with a brain and a penis, but not enough blood to manage both at the same time. So when a man is watching pornography, he only sees what he's watching. He has no heart for his wife. And you know, all these things that we're watching on that's on pornography, they are animalistic ways of having sex. They are not the normal, loving, romantic way in which husband and wife would be making love. So therefore, if a man is watching pornography and he's making love to his wife in that same way, she's obviously not going to enjoy it. But on saying that, there are some women who also enjoy pornography. It sounds surprising, but there are some women who encourage pornography in their marriage. Unfortunately, I would never advise, and that's one of the things I do say to couples, don't encourage pornography. But it does happen.
I think a lot of women or wives tend to want to do the missionary style, which is the quote-unquote the decent way, because you're supposed to be a decent girl and you're supposed to respond in a particular way, because we're scared of the fact that, you know what, if you let yourself go, your husband may think you are, you know, loose. But these same men who lie and do the normal quiet thing go out there, and believe me, you don't really want to know what they do with their girlfriend.
Yes, of course.
You know, how does a woman deal with that? And should women be encouraged? I don't see anything. I believe that, you know what, in a relationship or a marriage, I would love to tell my man what to do to me, because we are in a relationship. I'm not going to sleep with a man to satisfy a man. I'm going to do it because I want to enjoy it too. It takes two.
It's joint.
You know. But do you think women should let go and begin to enjoy
Vocal,
themselves
be vocal.
and be vocal and communicate with their partners.
Of course they should. They should. Sex is for both men and for women. And, you know, any woman who believes this sex is just for the man is going to live a very sad life.
And a lot of women are living a they're living very, very sad lives.
Yes, and actually,
Miserable lives.
there are a lot of women also who are living a life without sex. Without sex. And, you know, I don't know, I think a man going out of his marital home to have sex, to have slow, smooth, wonderful sex with another woman is just selfish, basically. Because a lot of women are ready to let go and do all the things that the man requires in sex. But you know, unfortunately, I must bring it down to Nigerian men. A lot of Nigerian men have microwave sex. It's just going to last 5 minutes, over, you're up, and that's it. Whereas most of us, we like a cold Coke sex, which means to say it's a gradual build-up. And once we are up here, we stay red hot for a long time, and we cool down gradually. That is what most women want.
I'm going to ask this question because, you know, in Nigeria, and as much as we seem to be changing and evolving and becoming a different Nigeria, I think in the matters that are most important, we're still the same. Mothers don't talk to their children about sex. Mothers don't teach their daughters anything about sex. And
I'm an exception.
I think it's important to do that. Doesn't that add something to the marriage when you know you have someone that you can talk to about sex, she's been there, she's done it, she can direct you?
I remember when I was much younger and I was speaking to my daughter about sex, and she said, but Mom, this was at the time, Mom, you are 38. You can't be having sex at that age. I said, okay, when you get to that age, I will ask you, daughter, are you still having sex? Because, you know, my daughter and I were very close. And I can actually say the same about my boys. I can talk to them about anything. But that's because of me. If I didn't welcome them into such a conversation, they would keep a lot to themselves. I talk to my children about masturbation, about sexual activities. I even, if I can say it on the TV, I discuss about oral sex, if I may say that. Because, you know, this is something that people think, it's a taboo, but behind closed doors, many people are doing it. You understand? So it's very, very important so that we don't have children who are going into marriage feeling that sex is dirty. It is not dirty. Anything between a man and a woman, husband and wife, should be accepted as a blessed gift from God.
Okay. Now we're going to throw this to the floor. You know, you have all listened, so everybody's listening so attentively and, you know, trying to get every bit of the advice that has been given here today. But have you learned something from this discussion? Have you learned anything?
What have you learned?
What have you learned?
Somebody?
Who wants to talk? Who wants to share their lesson? Please, the microphone here.
I've actually looked forward to this topic. I've learned a lot. At least I've learned that in marriage is not all about yourself. You have to give even when the person is not appreciative about what you are giving. I'd never thought that was part of marriage. Because, let me use the word, I'm a selfish person when it comes to myself. I want all the attention, I want all the love, I want all the care, but I don't see myself sacrificing for the other party. So I've really learned today that it's not all about me when it comes to getting married. I should let go of so many things and the sacrifice should be the paramount thing. So please, I want to ask a question. When is cheating said to be cheating?
It's for you.
Okay, thank you. That's a good one. That's a very good one. Well done. Cheating is anything that breaks a trust. You know, some people go to the extent of having sex with someone on the phone, just through texting, just through BBing. As a wife, if you pick up your husband's phone and you see such a thing, you feel as though you've been cheated of some love. So as little as, you know, someone having sexy talk with another person on the phone is cheating. Yes. The fact that you are with your wife or you're with your husband and you are eyeing other people of the opposite sex, that is also cheating. Are you with me? So you don't have to get physical with anybody before you're classed as cheating on your partner.
Okay, what are the ones that we can't see and you're just thinking it in your mind and you keep a straight face and nothing is happening on the outside, but you're thinking, wow.
You know, we're all human. We're all human. We still like good things. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But when it gets beyond just, oh, I find you very attractive, or you're a beautiful, well-made person. When it goes beyond that, then the brain has taken you to another level, which can be classed as cheating.
Okay, can we have one more? Anybody else?
I want to ask.
Yes.
Anyone? You have a question? Okay.
Thank you for this session. My question is, the period of courtship or dating, does it have any relationship or does it in any way reduce conflict in marriage? Like, people go into marriages after 3 months of courtship and at the end they're having problems, and 8 years of marriage they're having problems. Is there a relationship? Is there supposed to be a time frame for a normal courtship?
I have some friends who were in courtship for 10 years and then they decided to get married, and you know, their marriage only lasted 1 year. And I've also met couples who decided, like myself, my husband and I met, and within 6 months we realized we wanted to be married. And the following year we were married, and we've been married 29 years.
Wow.
So
Even the girls that came on earlier, Dr. and Mrs. Okonkwo, I think they said they courted for...
They didn't court.
They courted for.
It was in the church. I want to marry you. She said yes, they got married.
And they've been married 9 years. Yes. So really, I don't think it has any...
No, I think it depends on the two people involved and how hard they want to work on their relationship. Because it's hard work, isn't it? Marriage is hard work. Relationship is hard work. Marriage is harder still. Because then you're in each other's space. And before then, you know, you could say, okay, I'm upset with you, I'm going home, I'm not talking to you. When you're married, where are you going?
Nothing. You
separate rooms.
You want to throw up another question now. So how important is it for a couple to have the same bedroom? Or is it advisable to have different bedrooms?
I am totally against separate rooms. Because at the end of the day, even if you are fighting, in the middle of the night, one of you will forget you are fighting and you'll still...
Aisha, I just want to ask, we were talking about something before you came on, said Bimbo was saying something about love. I said, I think trust. I mean, what are your views on that? I believe that trust is extremely important. I think trust to me is far more important than love. I'm not saying love should not be part of it, but I just think, you know, for you to be able to love someone, you need to trust them.
And for me, I don't see love without trust. I can't exist in a situation where I don't trust you and I'm supposedly in love with you.
And for me, I don't see love without security.
And for me, I don't see love without communication. Communication to me will answer mental, spiritual, and physical issues of life. You know, you may not trust somebody, but there may be a very valid explanation to the reason why you don't trust that person.
True.
Are you with me? So when you communicate, your partner, your husband can tell you the reason why this happened is because then you have an understanding. Now trust is
can be
rebuilt. You understand? And when you trust somebody, you love them. It's very easy, very easy. So communication to me is the key to all, you know, it's like having pieces put together. And if you don't communicate with each other, definitely some of those pieces are going to be lost.
Thank you very much, Joan.
So
it's
much.
been such a great pleasure having you on the Amazon today. And thank you so much, audience, for being so involved in the discussion. And as usual, Amazons, thank you very much. Keep working on your marriages. Communication, we've been told, is key. Communication builds love. Keep communicating. We'll see you again next time. Bye.